should we run our companies more democratically? Spoiler alert, I believe yes. But I do want to have a discussion about where the authoritarian more model, the top-down approach that we currently have, where does that work better and what are the downsides of running a company more democratically? The thing you mentioned initially that I think is super relevant is the idea of efficiency, which is a lot of the reason that this won out as well, right? In a free market economy where people have to compete, taking more time to make a decision is potentially the difference between winning out or losing a customer. And it's easier for one person to make a decision than for the collective to make a decision. So, thinking about that, thinking about efficiency and kind of this idea of collective decision making, are there any other things that you feel as an entrepreneur and as somebody who's thinking deeply about this stuff? What are the pros and cons that you see of adopting maybe a more democratic model or the praises of the kind of more traditional model of corporation?
Yeah, for me, I think it comes down to a few things. Surface level is speed and efficiency, right? If it's top down, you're going to be able to move faster and probably have a more focused vision. So if you're a founder that, sees this brighter future, it probably serves you better to have a top down approach to at least get over that first hurdle of getting to market. So I think in the short term, I would more favor a top down. I think there is a case for kind of a middle ground or within a company and more democratic systems in place. But one of my major hangups that can get into the meat of it here is to run anything democratically requires a lot of enthusiasm and at least perceived ownership from the population that is operating the business in this case. I don't know if it's possible to apply that to all businesses. Like, how is it that the junior marketing manager at Pepsi is going to want to commit to a democratic system so that their vote actually matters and their vote is, or their opinion is equal to others? I imagine I'm getting a little bit too specific there. And I think the idea of democracy could be a little bit more broad than that. But what's your reaction?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting and goes to this question of what do we mean when we say democracy, right? I think a lot of us hear that and think of like a school project or something where everybody votes on what color the board is and like whatever that is. In reality, in a school project, there's always somebody that's a little bit like an authoritarian leader and takes control of the thing. But let's
Yeah.
disregard that for now, for the sake of argument. And I think that is right, more aligned with what we think of as direct democracy, where the decisions that need to be made are made by the collective as a whole, and basically all the decisions that need to be made are made by that collective. Now, I am not a big advocate for this strategy and do not think that it could work very well in a business environment. That might be because I don't think that it might work well in the US government, and that's colored by the fact that we don't live in a direct democracy. The people of ancient Greece might feel very differently and be really mad at me for saying all this stuff. But the whole point being the thing that we have in the US is a representative democracy, which I think could work really well in a business environment where simply the junior manager of Pepsi doesn't have to know all the intricate details of their marketing plan and their go to market strategy for this new product, right? But maybe they're allowed to vote on their manager. And that type of relationship where people have more of a sense of control and ownership over their everyday work environment, I think is really interesting and really important in terms of the long term health of a business and also like the overall retention of like employees and like staff members and the ability for more people at a company to feel a sense of ownership over the company, whether that ownership is also attached to the profits of the business, which I'm sure we'll get into. But yeah, that's my initial thoughts.
Yeah, it almost begs the question of, okay, then where's the ownership? If you have
What does
a
ownership mean?
voice,
Yeah.
yeah, if you have power in this business, then you probably own a piece of the pie. I think to tie back to one of our earlier conversations, I expressed like a hesitation around raising money.
Mhm.
And it isn't because I don't want to be successful or I don't want resources to, realize my vision.